On to the NFC North.
This is, to me, the best division in football.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, let's go with the Detroit Lions first. Another strange offseason for them. They trade Darius Slay for a 3rd and 5th round pick. They get absolutely robbed. They replace him with Desmond Trufant, who, again, I like. He's a number 1 corner, kind of a middle-end number 1 corner. Not the best corner in football, Mike Guido. But again, a decent contract, 2 years, $21 million. But again, they've kind of forced Darius Slay out. I mean, I'm sure you'd much rather pay Slay. So they should have tried to pay Slay, then get Trufant if that's where you go to. Because then again, at least you have a nice tandem.
Trufant's a good pickup.
Yeah, he's a nice pickup. But again, force Slay out. I'm sure they'd rather keep Slay. So there is a downside to that as well. I think they overpaid the offensive lineman Hal Vaitai from the Philadelphia Eagles, who was a good piece of the Super Bowl run when Jason Peters got hurt. But $10 million a year, I don't like it. And then the rest of their pickups were just former Patriots for the most part. I like Reggie Ragland, though. He's a nice pickup to help their linebacking core. And the rest of them are really former Patriots. Jamie Collins they bring in, 3 years, $30 million. You got to hope you can get the Patriots version of Jamie Collins and not Cleveland's version of Jamie Collins. So we'll see on that. Danny Shelton, former Patriot. Deron Harmon, former Patriot. That's just basically the theme of the offseason. So the Lions, I mean, just a mixed bag, really. In terms of the draft, there's a lot of things they could do. They got to... If they keep their pick, hopefully Chase Young falls to them. That would be a best-case scenario for them. Somebody trades with the Redskins and gets a quarterback, or trades in front to get Isaiah Simmons. That's another option. Otherwise, you take Isaiah Simmons. But again, they could also trade back, too. This is one draft scenario that scares me for the Giants. I think Carolina could try to trade up and take Isaiah Simmons. They trade back to 7. Or you got Miami who could trade up. You got the Chargers. There's definitely some options if they want to trade back a little bit. I wouldn't trade too far back, though, if I'm the Lions, because you still need that star as well. But they also do need draft picks, so they need a lot on their team. They shored up some of it in free agency, but again, you have to bank on these ex-Patriots playing well with...
Hold on, I want to cut in. Niffin says, if the Cowboys sense that Jamal Adams and the Jets can't come to a contract agreement, the Cowboys will swoop right in and grab him. The Cowboys don't have the money, Niffin. They don't have the money to get Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is going to be the highest paid safety in football. He's going to get like $95 to $100 million. You think they have $100 million to give to a safety? They just gave their wide receiver $100 million. And they got to pay their quarterback. How are they going to bring in Jamal Adams? It doesn't make sense. There's no way in hell.
Laughable. All right, let's go to the Chicago Bears now.
But I still love you.
So another team that I don't think has had a very good offseason so far. They trade for Nick Foles, even though, again, it could work with Matt Nagy. Definitely possible where that kind of thing could work.
Big mistake what they did.
Yeah, but again, you gave up a 4th-round pick when you're already behind in your draft assets anyway. You have no first-round pick this year. I don't believe any second-round picks.
Hold on one second. It annoys the hell out of me that Chicago did this because they have Mitchell Trubisky, which they gave up a lot of draft stock to get Mitchell Trubisky. He had one bad season. In the second half, the last 5 games, he played very, very well. And they're giving up on this kid. That's what it tells me. You bring in Nick Foles for 2 more years, you're giving up. If he makes any mistakes this year, they're going to take Mitchell Trubisky out. They're going to bring Nick Foles, and they're going to be looking for another quarterback in next year's draft.
Well, yeah, they might have had to do that anyway, but yeah.
I don't think they have to do that.
I mean, if Trubisky struggles again, they might have had to do that anyway, but why give up a 4th-round pick when you're already low on draft capital anyway?
You do not give up on a quarterback that you drafted 2 years ago, that when you compare his numbers to the guys that he was drafted with, the Watsons and Mahomes, their numbers are very similar offensively. Very similar. To touchdowns to interceptions, they're very similar. Now, they're on both different teams, and obviously, Mahomes won a Super Bowl, and Watson is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in all of football. And we don't know what Mitchell Trubisky is, but you cannot give up on Mitchell Trubisky because of one bad season. The year before that, he was a Pro Bowl player. It doesn't make sense. You cannot give up on a young player who's only 22, 23 years old. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Trubisky guy, but again, trading for Foles seems like a panic move. I don't know. So I didn't like that. The only move I really like from the Bears' standpoint is Jimmy Graham. I think that was a decent deal. 2 years, $16 million.
And he's got a lot to prove.
He's got a lot to prove, and I think, again, fast tight ends, I think, kind of fit that kind of
offense.
offense.
Robert Quinn. I thought bringing in Robert Quinn.
This is the thing that concerns me with Robert Quinn is the last
Gave him
time
a lot of money.
And the last time he played in a 3-4 defense, he was really bad with the Rams. And that was with Wade Phillips as your defensive coordinator. He's one of the best in the league. He's not a great run stopper. He's exclusively a speed rusher who was really good as a 4-3 guy, but in a 3-4 defense, unless they're trying to switch up defensive coordinators, I don't really see how that's a good deal. I think they were better off trying to keep Leonard Floyd, who's a little more scheme versatile, who oddly enough went to the Rams, funny enough, who's a little more scheme versatile. Even though he had one bad year, he probably would have been just as expensive, and he's younger, if not even cheaper than that. So I would have rather done that. In terms of the draft, what they need to do, tackles, I think, are an area they're going to have to get in for sure, because their interior offensive line is not bad, but their tackles are really bad right now. Jermaine Ifedi could help, but again, he's had his troubles with the Seahawks too. I really don't know. And then receiving depth as well could be something that they could look at. Defensively, they could use some secondary help, but again, they're limited on their draft picks anyway. They don't have a first or a second, so they really need to focus on offense. And if Trubisky still struggles amidst all that, maybe then at that point they could consider moving on next year.
Big mistake. If they give up on Mitchell Trubisky, the Chicago Bears will regret it to the next day, to the next day's next day.
Well, we'll see. It depends on how early they would draft, too, because they do have a first-round pick in 2021, so they could take a quarterback then if they're, I guess, bad enough to be able to do that. All right, Green Bay now. I mean, they've quietly been
By the way,
decent.
Niffin wants to know how the vibrators are doing.
Oh, God. Not revealing that information.
Why? Wait, hold on one second.
Niffin, if you want me to answer that question, I will reveal it privately.
Privately? Why?
I'm not doing it on air.
Why not? This is a radio show. What are you doing with the sales that you're going to be having when selling your vibrator?
They're right now stagnant.
They're stagnant.
They're stagnant at 0.
Well, right now, but they're going to be selling when after the coronavirus and the lemon with the lime or whatever the heck it is. What's going on, guys? What is going on, Mattis? But I do believe that you will sell out your vibrator.
Oh, God.
I do.
All right, whatever. All right, Green Bay Packers. They made some good moves, some bad moves. Not a lot of moves, but again, that's not a team that needs a lot. Christian Kirksey, I like the deal for him. They need inside run defense. Their run defense, as you could see in the NFC Championship game, was really bad last year. They were 24th in the league, and between linebackers and safeties and their up-front defense, outside of Kenny Clark, they don't have much. So Kirksey definitely helps in that area. Rick Wagner, I like him as a tackle. He's a good, more durable replacement for Brian Bulaga. And probably about the same level at this point. Maybe Balaga's a little better, but not by much. And Devin Funchess, I mean, it's a cheap deal. It helps in receiving depth, but again, he's not great. So I don't know what they're going to do. So we'll see on that. In terms of the draft, I think it's the same thing with the Ravens. Either receiver or linebackers, where they're going to have to go maybe safety. Maybe if somebody like Grant Delpit slips in the draft, which a lot of people think he will because of his iffy his iffy drills that he was doing. They were concerned about him. Maybe they trade up to the middle of the first round to get somebody like Delpit to help him out as a safety. Otherwise, again, all the linebackers.
You know, this track sounds like you're crawling through the woods, trying to get to that, capture the flag, and try to grab that flag.
Don't hang up capture the flag. It's a great game.
Yeah, have you ever played with paintballs?
No, I have not. That's something I have wanted to do, though.
Well, what we'll do is we'll play paintballs in the woods, and what we'll do is we'll tie you to a tree and shoot you with a couple of paintballs.
That's not a competition, though.
Yeah, it is. We'll use you as like a pin the tail on a donkey.
I'm not target practice.
You are target practice.
Oh, God.
You're always target practice, right, Snug?
No, Snug would never do that to me. So, for the Packers, I think it's just linebacker or receiver. They're both pretty deep towards the end of the first round. There's a Wisconsin connection with Zach Bond. Don't be surprised if they go in that direction. Draft a guy that's local. Otherwise, again, Queen, Murray, guys like that. In terms of fit with Aaron Rodgers, a guy like Laviska Shenault, who's a bigger-bodied receiver who can also move around, I think is a really good fit for Green Bay because those are the receivers he's more used to, the more big but also quicker at the line of scrimmage types of receivers.
Niffin asked, where do we think Newton's going?
Chargers. I think it's a really good fit for an RPO-type offense. Anthony Lynn, when he was with Buffalo, was the running backs coach, and they used a lot of those concepts with Tyrod Taylor, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to adopt that with Cam Newton, who's obviously a much better version of that RPO-type quarterback.
I would say either the Chargers or Miami. I've been saying Miami. I still think Miami is a destination for Cam Newton. He's from Miami. He's from down south. He loves it over there, and he hung out there for the Super Bowl. So I do believe Miami is definitely one of those teams that will be interested in bringing Cam Newton. He's a superstar. The owner loves superstar quarterbacks, so I could see him going there. But the Chargers are definitely another team that would be very interested in somebody like Cam Newton.
All right. So last but not least, the Minnesota Vikings. They were one of my big offseason losers that I mentioned in the article I just wrote. And yeah, they lost a lot on defense. Goodbye Everson Griffin, goodbye Xavier Rhodes, goodbye Trey Waynes. They lost a lot in that secondary. Now Mike Zimmer does like the draft corners, but that doesn't mean necessarily should. When you already have holes with your offensive line, you probably could use help with the linebacking core. Anthony Barr's a nice player, but again, they don't have much besides him.
Giving
and
Anthony Barr that contract last offseason is going to cost them.
We'll see. So far, it has cost them because they've had, in a sense, because they've had to cut other players to do it. And again, that pass rush depth outside of Danielle Hunter, who's a smaller pass rusher, now doesn't look as good. They lost Linval Joseph, replaced him with Michael Pierce. Okay, Pierce is a probably younger and maybe better version at this point, but beyond that, really not much. And they franchise tagged Anthony Harris, making him a top 5 paid safety after one season where he started and he had a really good season, but one season, which I think was also a huge mistake.
You know what I love about Speedy? He'll go into depth with these teams. It's so funny. I'll go through, probably spend about a minute on each team. He'll spend 5 minutes on each team. So this show will go over 8 o'clock because that's what Speedy is.
And then they trade Stephon.
He's a talking machine, ladies and gentlemen.
And then they trade Stephon Diggs, which I think they got good value back for.
The vibrating champion.
Which I think they got good value back for, but again, we have to hope they can hit on those draft picks. Now, the Vikings are a good player development organization, so you can maybe trust them in that sense, but again, that's a lot of assets to purge for a win-now team right now. So we'll see what they do. In the draft, corner, offensive line, maybe pass rush if the guys fall to 22, and I think their other pick is 25. But I think corner and offensive line are still going to be the areas they're going to have to focus on the most because that secondary is now brutal. Their best corner is probably Mike Hughes, and Mike Hughes has had trouble staying healthy in his 2 years so far. So that's going to be brutal. Offensive line, they still need some help.
Are you almost done?
So that'll be the two directions they go in. Kirk Cousins, you got 2 years, 3 years to win with. Hopefully you can build the roster around him now.